Welcome everyone, and thank you very much for joining today's deep dive webinar. I know how busy things are and I do really appreciate your time. So what we're going to go and do today is really go back to the basics and explore what TeacherMatic actually is, how it works, and why it's different to a lot of other AI tools, and how it can support teaching, learning, and assessment. So we're going to spend a bit of time going through that together first, and then we'll move on to the live demo afterwards. And the reason I wanted to structure it this way is because it's not just about AI, it's about workload. And it's about that feeling that there's always something to do as a teacher, as an educator. Planning, marking, admin, it just doesn't stop. So today is really about how we can take some of that weight off without overcomplicating things. I'm sure as educators, these numbers won't surprise you. 59% of teachers have considered leaving, not because they don't enjoy teaching, but because of everything around it. 12 hours a week on planning, and that's about a day and a half every week. And 1 in 4 say exhaustion is normal. And that's the bit that really worries us, because that's not sustainable. So before we even talk about solutions, that's the reality that we're dealing with today. So what is TeacherMatic? The simplest way to describe it is this. It's an AI toolkit that was created by educators for educators. And the focus is really clear. Is to reduce your workload whilst improving teaching, learning, and assessment. But what makes it different is this. It structures your thinking. So instead of starting from a blank page, it guides you through the process. It scaffolds your experience and your expertise. Whether you're new to teaching or very experienced, it just helps you get there much quicker. And the way I like to describe it is it's like having a colleague next to you, just prompting you with the right questions. What's the objective here? Who are the learners? How are you differentiating this? What type of pedagogical model do you want to use? And that's how it helps you move from this blank page to something that's actually usable and much faster. So here's where a lot of AI tools go wrong. They make a big assumption that you already know what to ask, how to ask it, and the pedagogy behind it, and the curriculum language, and safeguarding. And that's a lot to expect from someone who's already short on time. So it's not a teacher problem, it's a design problem. So this is where it becomes a real issue, because if we're not careful, these tools can introduce considerable risk. Inconsistent outputs, 2 teachers, same tool, different quality. And it's not maybe about the teaching ability, it's about their prompting ability. That's not a system, that's a lottery. Safeguarding without guardrails, you don't always know what's coming out. And in education, we can't take that risk. So it's very important that how we manage this across the department and how we monitor it. So it's very important that as teachers and as organizations, that safeguarding is in place here. So naturally, the question is, and it always comes up, why not just use ChatGPT, Gemini, or Copilot? And it's a very fair question. But with generic AI, you start from a blank box, which means you bring everything: structure, pedagogy, context. So what happens? You generate, tweak, reprompt, start again. And you've already spent about 20 minutes getting something usable. That's where inconsistency comes from. That's where risk comes from. And with TeacherMatic, you start with structure. The thinking is already there. So instead of figuring out how to get a good answer, you're shaping it for your learners. That's the shift. Quality depends on your teaching and not your expertise in prompt engineering. So this is something I think that's really important. The interface in TeacherMatic is the pedagogy. If you think about most large language models, you're presented with a blank prompt box, and it assumes you already know what you're looking for. Whereas in TeacherMatic, everything is there for you. You've got these generators, the tiles that you see in front of you, like lesson plans, quizzes, rubrics. So even if a teacher doesn't know, for example, what a rubric is, it's right there in front of them. They can just click on it and see what it does. So compare that to the blank prompt box. If you don't know what to ask, you're stuck. And that's, I think, the major difference here. It's not just giving you the tools, it's guiding your thinking. It's showing you what's possible and making it easy to actually do it. And that's why we say the interface is the pedagogy. So one thing people often say about TeacherMatic, that it's a very easy to use platform. And that's because there's a lot of consistency across the generators. So once you've used one or two, you more or less understand how the rest of it works. You'll start seeing familiar things across the platform. For example, learning needs, differentiation, additional information, the ability to upload files, and also insert YouTube URLs. And this reduces cognitive load quite considerably, which is really important when people are short on time. So what does this actually mean in practice? First, you get your time back. Less starting from scratch, less admin friction, faster classroom-ready resources. Then, of course, the inclusive practice. We're talking about differentiation and sense support. All those learning needs like dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADHD and other things. So everyone can start from the same strong baseline, whether you're highly experienced or new to education. And something that's really important to us, that TeacherMatic is built using this co-design model. Most of what you're going to see in TeacherMatic has been developed based on the needs of real educators. So TeacherMatic isn't built in isolation. It's built with the people actually using it, and we're extremely receptive to feedback. In fact, in some cases, we've launched updates or even new generators within a matter of days, especially when we see a pattern. So if there's a real need and that need is common across the sector, we'll go and build it within a few days. So the platform keeps evolving all the time in line with what educators actually need, not what we think they need. And something that I don't think people realize at first, TeacherMatic isn't just for teachers. It's for everyone across the organization, anyone who's creating, planning, reviewing, or writing. So for example, if you're a curriculum manager, you might be carrying out subject area reviews or writing improvement plans or pulling together reports. If you're involved in quality, for example, we've got generators that will help you create reports based on lesson observations. If you're coaching and mentoring staff or even students, we've got generators for that. If you wanted to embed employability skills, we've got generators for that. And we also have generators for leaders, such as strategy or even Ofsted preparation. So this isn't just a classroom tool. It's something that supports the whole organization. And that's where the real impact starts to happen. When it's not just one person using it, but teams using it consistently. So let's just spend a little moment on data safety, because I think that's really important, especially in education. TeacherMatic is hosted on Microsoft Azure infrastructure in the UK. It's GDPR aligned, and of course, we align with different regulations across the world. And it's designed to meet the expectations of schools, colleges, and universities. Crucially, your data is never used to train the external AI models. So what goes into TeacherMatic stays private and secure. And on top of that, through the Avalane Group, the platform includes an ethics filter that has been shown to reduce problematic outputs by about 60%. That does not replace teacher judgment, it supports it. For leaders, that are thinking about institution-wide adoption, this is the governance foundation that they really need. So this is, I think, a really important one, curriculum alignment, because this is where TeacherMatic is very different to most AI tools. So most tools are relying on general understanding of the curriculum. So what you tend to get is something that is close enough. And in education, close enough isn't good enough. So what TeacherMatic does is it's built on real curricula. So we've mapped over 30 and nearly now 40 different curriculum frameworks across the UK and internationally. And the key thing is this. It's not just recognizing them, it's actually using them. So when you generate something, whether it's a lesson plan or a scheme of work or an assessment, it's grounded in your actual specification, not a generic version of it. And that means you start seeing real references here. So more than 60,000 educators are already using TeacherMatic every single day. And we've been recognized at the Learning Technologies Awards in 2024 and shortlisted at the BET 2025 for AI in education workload reduction. But the feedback that matters most comes from teachers themselves. For example, Sarah Seller here, a lecturer in a further education college, put it simply, and I love this quote, by the way, "I've got my Sunday afternoons back." And that is not a small thing. This is a life improved. This is the kind of impact we are talking about. So this is something I would like to highlight also. When you adopt TeacherMatic as your AI toolkit, you're joining a wider ecosystem. For example, we run regular webinars. We've got things like this, the Deep Dive Wednesdays on the first Wednesday of each month, more focused on specific areas in detail. We also run community webinars and other webinars. We've got a free Getting Started with TeacherMatic. We've got a rollout guide. We've got a monthly newsletter. So you're going to be supported with this ecosystem once you adopt TeacherMatic. So I know you're here for the live demo. So we're at that stage where I'm going to show you about 4 generators, starting with the schemes of work generator, then the lesson plan generator, then the quiz generator. And I'm going to show you one of the most exciting generators that we have. And I think it's one of the biggest heavy lifters. And that is the advanced feedback generator, where you're able to upload bulk upload students' work, and it will give your students feedback in literally minutes. But of course, what we like to advise is this 80-20% rule in everything that AI produces. AI will do 80% of the work for you. Where it gets really important is that 20%, that human oversight, where you go and critically evaluate what the AI has produced. AI and TeacherMatic is not meant to replace the important work that you do. It's only meant to augment what you do and complement what you do. So with that being said, let's have a look. So what I'm going to do, because we've got a few minutes, extra, I'm just going to show you what the interface looks like. When you first log on to TeacherMatic, this is the interface, and what it consists of is what we call these generators. We have over 150 plus generators. You can filter these generators based on the roles. So if you look towards the top right, you're going to see all the roles. So depending on what your role is, then you can come and filter these generators here. As I said to you before, it's not, this platform is not just for teachers, but for all of the different roles within education. I would also highly recommend that you use this search box. It's a wonderful search box where you can put, for example, keywords here, like lesson plan, and it will find all the generators that has the keywords lesson plan in the title or in the description here. You can also use natural language. For example, you can say, I would like to assess my learners. And what it will do is it will try and figure out which generators are related to assessing your learners. So you can use natural language here. Right, there we go. Another thing I would recommend is to spend some time browsing through these generators. Most of the generators are quite self-explanatory from the title and from the description. If you're still unsure what a generator does, you should click on the generator information icon here. When you click on this, it will give you additional information about what that generator is and how to use it. We are planning to put videos in each of these generator information boxes. So as time allows, we're going to be inserting videos over here. The next thing I would highly recommend is that if you think you're going to be using this generator more than once, what you should do is go and favorite the generator by clicking on the heart icon. And when you do that, for example, on this rubric generator, and I just click on the heart, it's going to appear here on the top, right there in the all generators page where we can access the 150 generators. But a more convenient place to access only your favorited generators is to click here on your favorites on the left. And as you can see, these are my 3 favorited generators there. So those are the tips and tricks that I would share with you before now we jump and do a deep dive on a few of these generators. So the first generator I'm going to show you is the schemes of work. So all you need to do in order to launch this generator, you just write the word scheme in there. There it is. You click on the use button, you get a pop-up window. All the generators more or less follow the same process. You click use, you get a pop-up window, and there's a number of mandatory fields. How do we know they're mandatory? From the asterisk icon here. The more information you put into these fields, the better the quality output you're going to get. So I highly recommend you fill out as much of these fields as possible. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be generating a schemes of work based on a unit that I used to deliver in a further education college. It's the BTEC Level 3 IT course, and specifically this unit over here. Unit 3, Social Media and Business. Most qualification bodies will give you the unit specification in the form of a PDF. And I have this ready here. And what I'm essentially going to do is I'm going to use this PDF, this unit spec, to then generate the schemes of work. So when I jump into the generator itself, there it is. So essentially what I've done in the course title is I've copied the qualification body here on the top and I've pasted it right there, the course title. That is the course title. Then I select a single unit here, and then the unit module title is, as you see, Unit 3 using social media and business. because I've got this as a downloaded PDF, what I've done is I've selected the specification and it allows me to upload that PDF, the unit spec. Now, for whatever reason, you may not have a unit spec. It's very easy to go to the specific topics to include and add them here. For example, if I was teaching Excel, I'd say intro to Excel, right? And I'll come in here and I'll say basic functions. So, and I'll press return after each of these subjects. And what the generator will do is it will create then a schemes of work based on these topics if I did not have some type of paperwork to guide this generator. So it's not necessary that you have a unit spec here. These are mandatory fields, so I'm going to ignore them for now. And this, any additional information, I think is extremely important. And when you become more confident in using TeacherMatic, you'll be able to add information here that will guide then the output. I'm going to go for 18 lessons here. And then it says choose a layout. And then if you've got your own house template, many schools and colleges and universities will have their own template. You can actually upload that or add your own table headings. I'm going to go for the standard TeacherMatic layout with sequence of learning, which is something very important that Ofsted look for. So I'm going to go for that one there. I'll choose 90 minutes because that's how long my lessons were. I'll choose the sector. As you can see, TeacherMatic is suitable for all of the different sectors here. I'm going to go for further education. And what I've done here, as an example, I've just put a learner group profile here. And it becomes extremely important, especially in the lesson plan, to put a learner group profile. And this is just a general overview of the type of students that I have. Okay. So there you go. I can even choose learning needs in here, but because it's a schemes of work, I may not use that. But in the lesson plan, I think it becomes really, really important. Right, this is stretch and challenge. So basically, you've got two things that you can select here. So I want to create strategies for my higher level learners and my lower level learners here. So I've selected both of them. That's all you need to do for more about learners. And then for more about teaching, what I've done, I'm just not going to select anything, but imagine you were delivering this online. I change that to online too, because then the schemes of work will reflect an online environment. Right, you can choose any of these things. So for example, we can add British values in here, employability skills and other things here. Right, you can also upload files, additional files, by the way, to guide the schemes of work. And you can use a pedagogical model. As you can see, we've got a few here. But I'm going to ignore all of those things. And what I'm going to do is just click generate, just to show you what the schemes of work will look like. Something that would have taken me a number of days. It's going to give me a good head start. It's not going to be complete. And remember that 80-20% rule. It'll do 80% of the work for me. But this is where I need to go and look at what it's produced, reflect on it, and refine it even further. So while it's doing that, it should only take a minute or so. And then the one next is we're going to then go for the lesson plan. This shouldn't take too long. We'll just wait a few seconds here. There we go. Right. So look what it's done. Something very comprehensive. 18 weeks over here. I'm just going to maximize this just to show you what that looks like. So there it is. It's giving us the session, the topic, learning objective, learning activity, sequence of learning, which is really, really important, and resources. Something that we've introduced very, very recently is this inline editing, where you can edit the text and change it here. So we look through this. make sure, you know, that we're happy with it, see what we need to change. And what I would highly advise here is what you have in all the generators. The formatting, by the way, hasn't come out quite right. Normally the formatting, so I can always regenerate, by the way, here. So in all our generators, we've got this refine functionality, which is really important. And I go back to that 80-20% rule. You can actually refine it here. For example, if I look at this and say, I want to say here, please embed starter and plenary activities in each of the sessions and embed literacy, numeracy, and employability skills. Right. So I'm refining it even further. I'm going to click on refine, and what it will do is it will go through all of these sessions and embed exactly what I've just requested here. Right. And you can refine as much as you like. And then once you're relatively happy with it, then you'll be able then to export it to all of these formats. Of course, if you want to edit it, then you can share it to Microsoft Word or Google Drive. So let's just export this and just show you what that looks like in a Word document. So there is what the schemes of work looks like in Word, where of course you can go and then amend it and edit it over here. So it's given me such a big, start to that schemes of work that would have taken me a number of days, right? So that is your schemes of work. You can see now, if we go back to this, you can see what it's done. It's, carried out exactly what my request is through that refined functionality. There's my starters and employability. There's my numeracy too. So that's your schemes of work. And of course, we can export that. So actually, I'm going to export that and just save it. There we go. So the next generator I'm going to show you is the lesson plan generator. And you can see I've already put a lesson topic in there. I put the area of study, just very similar to the schemes of work. I've gone for the standard TeacherMatic layout, but just like before, you can also upload your own template. I've gone for 90 minutes. And what I've done in this example is I put some additional information over here. And this is where, you're not just relying on AI, but you're inputting your knowledge about your learners and your expertise just to take it much further. I've chosen the sector as further education, and then I've gone and put a learner group profile. And if you recall, I told you where it gets really important is to select the learning needs within your classroom. As you can see, we've got a comprehensive list of learning needs. If they're not listed, you can click on specific learning difficulties and describe those learning needs. Just like before, we've got stretch and challenge. So I've gone for both of them. And just like the schemes of work, as you can see, there's a lot of familiarity with them. We're doing exactly the same thing. There's more about teaching. In this example, I've selected both of these and I've added employability and British values. I can also upload a file, by the way. So if you've got a PowerPoint presentation and you want to generate a lesson plan based on that PowerPoint, you can also upload it there. You can also, believe it or not, generate a lesson plan based on a YouTube video URL. So you go to YouTube, for example, this video here, you copy that URL, click on copy, come back to your lesson plan, and you don't even need to put any of this information here. You can just paste that URL and it will generate, believe it or not, a lesson plan based on that video transcript. What we have here is the different pedagogical models. The most widely used, I would assume, is probably Bloom's taxonomy, but we have also others here. Something very common in schools is Rosenshine's, principles. So I've gone for Bloom's, and then what it does, it will then give you the options to select which of the domains you want to target. So I've gone for some of the lower level learning and some of the higher level learning. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on regenerate, but this is one that I've done before. But I'll click on regenerate just to show you what that looks like. And there is a very comprehensive lesson plan, something that would have taken me at least 4 hours, especially if I was getting observed in a lesson, right? 4 hours, done 80% of the work for me. And then I have to go and refine it and own it and add my, add my own inputs in there here. We'll just wait a few more seconds for this just to regenerate. Remember, if you're not happy with any of the outputs, you can always click on regenerate. And more importantly, is that refine functionality. So let's have a look at what it's done. It's based the lesson objectives based on those domains I selected in Bloom's. Explain, analyze, justify, apply, and develop. It's giving me the assessment criteria address, which is just fantastic. It really is. P3, M1, and D1. And then it's giving me now the content and the timings. Right. It's even suggested the resources. And many of these resources, by the way, we can create with the other generators. Right, like a vocabulary sheet. We've got a glossary generator that will allow us to do that. So we go through this, and there's your prepare for adaptive teaching, the learning needs here, and there's the stretch and challenge, and it's told me how to embed literacy and numeracy, and how we're targeting those domains within Bloom's. And then I selected cultural capital, and I selected, or I added more like employability skills and British values. I mean, what a game changer, especially for newly qualified teachers. This is an absolute game changer. Don't forget the refine here. You can refine this until you're happy. And then, of course, you can then export this and amend in Word and amend it even further. So that's the lesson plan generator. The next one I'm going to show you is one of my favorites, and it's the multiple choice questions generator. And it allows you, as you can see, create multiple choice questions, which is absolutely fantastic. I used to love using a strategy called the flipped classroom model, where basically I ask my students to watch a video and I attach a quiz with it. So when they come into my lesson, we're maximizing that face-to-face time with learners, and we're not dealing with the lower end of Bloom's taxonomy, like identify, define. We can focus more on the analyze and evaluate and create. So get them to do, learn some new stuff outside of the classroom through video and attach a quiz to that video. And I'm going to show you how we do that. So I've got a video here on YouTube. I'm going to copy that URL. Just go and copy the URL. I'll go back to my quiz generator here. It's a mandatory field, as you can see here. Right, so it means we have to put something, but I'm going to share with you a hack that I like to use. But even if we put any word in here, as you can see from this note, it does say referencing a YouTube transcript below will take precedence over the topic title. So it doesn't really matter what we put, but the way I like to do it is I just put a full stop in there. It's a mandatory field, means we have to put something in there. Right, I scroll the way down, and in more about teaching is where I'm able then to paste that URL. Okay, so I'm able to paste that URL, which is absolutely fantastic. And as easy as that, I select the number of questions and I click on generate. It's going to provide a very simple quiz for me, but I'm going to show you how we can take advantage of the additional information just to take this even much further, and I'll show you that in a sec, once it produces the quiz. There's the quiz. Obviously, you need to critically evaluate this, make sure that it is correct. So you do spend a few minutes to do that, as you can see. And it's produced a relatively, simple quiz based on that YouTube. And I'm going to show you how we can export this into, in this example, Microsoft Forms and embed that video. So let's just export this as a Word document. Right. I should really change my settings here, because it's not giving me the option to save it in a particular folder. So there's the first question. Let me just change these settings really quickly. So go to settings, downloads, and then ask. That's how you do it. So the next time I download something, I can now navigate to where I want it to save the file. So going back to that quiz generator, lovely quiz, very simple. I can target some of my lower level learners. Now, where it gets really interesting is where we can differentiate. So I'm just going to put some text in here, right? And I can share this with you. I've got loads of prompts, by the way. I'll share this with you. So basically what I'm saying is I want each question related to workplace or industry related scenarios. Distractors should represent errors. So essentially what this is going to do, it's going to make the questions more complex. That way I can target the quiz to some of my more able learners. And look at the difference that's going to happen. I'm just going to click on regenerate. While it's doing that, I'm going to share with you a very useful document where you'll be able to use some of these prompts in the additional information. There it is. You can see I've got a whole bunch for different scenarios, and I'll share that with you in the chat pane once I get the opportunity, okay? So you can copy and paste these in the any additional information. And look what's going to happen. As you can see, the questions have become more complex and more contextualized just from using the any additional information. So I've got this. I'm going to export this now additionally as a Word document. Click on Save As, and just save it in our demo folder. And then I'm going to show you how to import that into Microsoft Forms, okay? Very easy to do that. Most colleges use Microsoft Forms, but of course you can use Kahoot, quizzes, Google Forms, and you can use even various virtual learning environments like Moodle, Canvas, and many others. So I'm just going to jump to Forms, and the best way really to access Forms is by going to forms.office.com. Right, forms.office.com, very easy. And if you don't know what Forms is, it's a survey and quiz tool that is part of your Microsoft 365 license. All right, so in Microsoft Forms, and traditionally what we had to do in order to create a new quiz, we had to do this manually, and it would take on average 45 minutes to create a quiz. Look what we can do now, just to show you how easy this is. We click on Quick Import, click here and navigate to our exported Word documents, right? There it is, demo. We'll go for just one because we don't have much time. We'll go for this one here and just clicking quiz. And in literally 5 to 6 seconds, you've got a self-marking multiple choice quiz. Just click on start review and there's your quiz. Done, self-marking. You want to see what it looks like? Preview. This is what it looks like on a mobile phone. And they've got a lovely feature that we can use within the classroom like that. Right? If you wanted, you can get your students even to scan this QR code. But I'm going to take this quiz even further, because if you remember, I talked about the flipped classroom model So what I'm going to do is I'm going to embed the video in this quiz, believe it or not. So I'm just going to click on the editing part here, insert a new question. I'm going to go for the text type question, and I'm going to say, summarize this video in 200 words or more. Right. I'm going to make it a long answer because by default, they can only put a few words in here. I'm going to push this question so it becomes the first question. And what I'm going to do in order to insert that YouTube video is I click on this little icon here. And it gives me the ability to insert a YouTube URL. There it is. Click on add. And now we have a wonderful flipped classroom model or activity more like, right? This is what it looks like. Let's click on preview. I'll send it out, you know, maybe through Microsoft Teams for Education as an assignment or a link. They watch the video, summarize this video, and then answer these questions. So when they come into the classroom, we're doing some of the more higher end of Bloom's taxonomy. And to add, when they come into the classroom as a starter activity, what we can do is just click regenerate, and we have a quiz based on that video as a starter activity. As you can see, we can do that in minutes, whereas before that would have taken us hours. Now, the last generator, which I think is just incredibly powerful, but I would like to say that with great power comes great responsibility. There has to be human oversight in what this produces. And this is our relatively new advanced feedback generator that allows you to bulk upload students' work, and it will then provide feedback in literally minutes, right? Let's go through that process. So essentially, all you're going to do is just search for the word feedback in here. There it is, advanced feedback. Click on the use button. And the first thing you need to do is set up your assignment. So you click on add assignment here, set up the assignment. Let's go for ethics here. You're going to upload the assignment brief. So I'm just going to click on upload an assignment brief. Click on upload the file and just navigate to where my file is. So if I click on, there it is. I've got the assignment brief here. Right, so I'm uploading the assignment brief. It's asking for the type of submission. So I'm going to go for text-based work. You know, it's typed work. It doesn't have any images or handwritten work. So I'm going to go for the first option. And then what I need to select is I definitely need to select advisory, formative, and summative. And then additionally, I'm going to select the annotated PDF, which is a very exciting feature, which I'm going to show you once we set this up. Right? We will select the type. How do we want to grade the work? So if you use your own rubric, you can upload your own rubric. You can upload a rubric created within TeacherMatic. You can even select a grading scale right over here if you wanted. Let's go for that just to make things easier. Excellent to pour. Just like the any additional information, you can put any additional information here and just click on save once you're done. Once you're done, the next thing you need to do is just click on submissions. And now you're going to upload your students' work. And you can drag and drop them, or you can highlight them like what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to highlight 3 assignments here. Click on open, confirm here by clicking on yes. And it will, of course, take a few minutes to process this. And you can go and have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, and come back to this. It shouldn't take too long at all, right? But because of time constraints, I'm just going to go back to assignments and show you what that looks like, okay? So if I click on submissions here, once it's uploaded and it's processed, this is what you're going to see. You're going to click on view feedback and you'll get feedback like this, which is just incredibly detailed. And because we chose in this example a percentage, it's given us a suggested grade, right? If you're not happy with these grades, remember the human oversight, the human in the loop. You can easily use the refine functionality to go and change these marks. So for example, if I wasn't happy with that 62%, I can come and target just the structure and the argument, type in what I want in here and just click refine, and it will change only that specific part of the feedback. Additionally, remember when we selected that PDF annotation, look what you get also. You get these PDF annotations here, right? And essentially what the AI does is it will highlight in purple, the feedback that the AI has produced. And you can easily change that or add your own comments. Add your own comments, right? And you click on save. You can highlight any part of the text. It'll give me the ability to comment now. And I will say, that's really good, but have you considered this and that? Right? And I just click on save. Now, what I would suggest is that you can also do hybrid marking. So for example, if I want to add something here, I'll click in it. I'll add my own comments. And what I could do is change the color of that. And the reason being, because I could tell my students what the AI has done and where there's this hybrid form of marking and where it's just me that is giving the feedback. And then I'm color coordinating everything, right? And then that way, when we show all the comments or export it, the student can differentiate what the AI has done, where the hybrid marking is, and where it's just the teacher feedback only. Of course, you can go and download this, right? And it'll have the comments at the bottom. Scroll the way to the bottom, you'll get all the comments. This to me is an absolute game changer. But as I said, with great power comes a lot of responsibility. Please do ensure that you have communicated with your learners about this process. And what we are working on is a framework to guide institutions in how they integrate AI-assisted feedback in their organizations. Okay, so I'm very conscious of time. So with that being said, I'm just coming to the last slide. And my advice would be keep it simple, right? Go and try one generator, maybe one that was demonstrated today. See which ones are really suitable for your specific needs. We do have a free getting started with TeacherMatic that goes into much more detail and not rushed like this deep dive here, where you get certified. So it will produce a certificate for you as long as you get all the assessments 70% correct. And we also support institutions with a comprehensive rollout strategy guide. And what I would highly recommend is that you go to this link here, is teachermatic.com/links, and you sign up especially to our newsletter, because it's a constantly evolving platform with new updates all the time. And we communicate these updates mainly through the newsletter. You'll get past recordings of our webinars, and future events and webinars. And everything you really need in terms of resources is located here at teachermatic.com/links. And with that, I want to thank you for your time today, and I hope you found this interesting. Thank you very much.